Hey guys, welcome back to This Is Just the Beginning. I'm Ellie and I hope you've had a brilliant week or wherever you are right now. First thing I will mention is that this podcast is no longer called This Is Just the Beginning, as I'm sure you can see from the episode title and from the whole branding on Spotify or Apple or wherever you're listening to this. I've renamed it the Pepetto Podcast, so that is all on brand with my blog, my Instagram, as I'm sure you're aware, because a lot of you do come from my blog. So I'm so happy you're here, and yeah, I'm excited to get on with this episode today, and I'm going to start with loads of life updates. So I know you guys know that it's been 3 months since I recorded my last podcast, and it's just been so hectic. And I did say, if you see me on my socials, the main reason that I haven't recorded one is because I had a new laptop and I didn't have a USB port, so it's taken me this long to get like a port extender in order to connect my microphone, which is so stupid, I know, but it has also just been the most busiest time literally of the year, of my life almost. So I ended the podcast 3 months ago with saying that I'm starting a new job, and I didn't actually say where I'm starting it, but I've already joined Able, which is like the most incredible time working with a fitness brand that's huge, especially in the UK and the US now, and it's been so exciting to kind of get involved with kind of the influencer side of it, and it's just like the best time because I turn up to work in like joggers and a hoodie. It's still like a 9 to 5 job in an office, still hybrid as well though, like my last job, but it's just a bit different that I'm surrounded by like-minded people like me. Everyone's young, everyone's in their 20s, and it's just so different to my last job, and I'm really enjoying it. There's been a lot of struggles along the way. I'm hired as kind of like the German side of things, like the German influencer market I didn't finish my degree in German, but I do speak German almost fluently, so that's what I was hired for, and there's been a lot of kind of strategy with that, and it has been up and down, but I am really enjoying it, and it's coming up to like 3 months since I started now, which has gone really quickly, and it feels like I've kind of just joined still, but I am really enjoying it at the moment. Before I started that job, I had a 2-week break in between jobs, because I had loads of holiday left over from my last job. I think I did mention that. I think the last podcast I did was about how like that kind of started those 2 weeks, and those 2 weeks were meant to be about doing podcasts, as I said on my socials as well, that I was going to start filming my podcast and putting it on YouTube. I've not got around to doing that yet, but that will be coming soon, I promised you, as I've got an idea for kind of like a podcast studio setup, so that is coming really soon. I am sorry, like it's been such a long wait with that, but it is coming soon. But over those 2 weeks I spent a lot of it with my sister and my boyfriend. I went down to Dorset for my boyfriend's sister's wedding, which was so fun. Like meeting all of his family was really stressful, but it was such a fun time spending a few days down there, because I booked off a bit of holiday when like I was still at my last job, and then so it was only meant to be like a long weekend, but I ended up staying there for almost a week, which was amazing. And then after that I went up to York to visit some friends with my sister, which again was just such a nice time to spend with my sister. And actually, she's here on the podcast today, but we'll get into that in a second. But we are doing a collab podcast today, which I think is the perfect time to bring in a guest after 3 months of no podcast. But we'll get into that in a second. I'm just going to continue with my life updates, as there are a lot that I need to update you guys on. When I started my job, I had quite a lot of holiday booked off. First of all, I went to see Taylor Swift, and I'm not going to go on about it too much because my sister will actually slap me if I do, but it was the most incredible time. If any of you have been, or you're planning to go soon, like I know there's loads of London shows coming up, oh my god, it's like the most like amazing experience of your life, and I cried the whole time, as you will probably understand because I am a huge fan of Taylor, and our seats weren't even that bad. Like we paid only 100 quid for the tickets, which is the cheapest you can buy, and it was almost behind the stage, but you could so see like everything going on. You could see kind of the backstage where all of like the backup dancers were coming on, and that was like even more fun because they were like trying to excite the crowd of our side and the other side before she came on, and it was just like, I don't know, I can't hide my excitement with it. And I said, if I win the lottery in the next few like weeks, I will go back. And I mean, it depends, because I'm not on the wait list anymore for any of the shows, but I so want to go see her again because it just was so fun, and it was definitely something that I've been meaning to do for so long, because I did have tickets for the Reputation tour, but then realised I was doing DV that same weekend, which is really annoying, but I didn't go. So this was the show that I went to, and I also got Gracie Abram tickets for next March, which is ages away, but I mean, to be fair, Taylor Swift came up really quickly, because I went to Wembley night 1 where there was like literally no special guests. Night 2, Gracie came on stage to sing the new song. Night 3, Travis Kelce was there like as one of the dancers, so I thought, because it was like the opening night, something good would happen, but no, but it was still a really good night, and I love seeing everyone on TikTok like posting about it. And yeah, to be fair, I've not really been following it since, but because like it is that kind of thing, like, oh, I've already been, I've seen her, but it is still so fun. And I'm still listening to her, don't worry, it's not like I'm not listening to her anymore, but every time I hear especially like Cruel Summer, I just start crying because that was like the best moment of my life. And then kind of fast forward to recently, a week or so ago, my whole family went to Portugal and we just kind of stayed there for a week. All of our partners went, and I did mention this before, like in one of my last episodes, and it was such a fun time just to see all of us kind of getting along. I mean, because my boyfriend's still like the new one in the family, as like me, my sister, my brother, like we all have like partners, but they've got partners of like 2+ years, almost 3 years. So it was kind of weird to see him like getting on with everyone, but it was such a nice time. And we went out a few times. We just had a really like chill holiday. Didn't do any exercise, which was such a good break from all of that. And it definitely was needed for everyone, I think. There's been a lot going on with all of us right now. So it was definitely a moment to kind of just pause and chill. And I did a lot of like socials, a lot of blogging. And yeah, it was definitely a really needed week for all of us. So it was really fun. And if you follow me on Instagram, you would have seen me post a lot about it. But yeah, so now that all of this has been happening with Taylor Swift, Portugal, I also saw the Foo Fighters, saw JLS in Cardiff as well, which I've seen JLS like twice since I've had my podcast, I think, and I've spoken about them. Like that was the 6th time I've seen them. I went with my sister and we drove over to Cardiff, which is like an hour and a half from where we are. And honestly though, we left after like 4 or 5 songs because we got there so early, just because it was like at Cardiff Castle and I wasn't sure if the queue would be huge and the traffic as well getting there, but we got there about 3 o'clock and we had a drink somewhere, and because it was a Sunday night as well and I'd work like in the office on Monday, so I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing, but it was a really fun day. But the support act, I literally forget who the support act was now. I don't remember who it was. It wasn't anyone big, but he came like at 8:30. It was like so late. And by the time like JLS came on, it was like after 9 o'clock, and I was like, I need to get home. We've got an hour and a half drive on the way home. So we stayed for a few songs. I was like, we've seen them so many times. Like it was such a good idea to come. Like we've not been to see them in ages, like together, because I went with like my ex at the last point that I saw them like almost a year ago now. So it was a good idea to go see them, but it just wasn't the atmosphere I was hoping for, I guess. But it was really fun, and I bought the tickets for like our birthday. Oh yeah, also I've turned 21. It was our birthday on the 12th of July, so literally a month ago now, which is crazy. We had a huge party, which it was so nice to see like my friends from uni, my sister's friends from uni, our friends from home, like our parents' friends, like everyone kind of meshed together and everyone had such a good time. I mean, I had an argument with my boyfriend because I was drunk, but that's besides the point. But everyone had such a fun time and it was such a good birthday. Last year, like my birthday was just a bit average, but this year it was definitely a really, really fun time, and it was so nice, as I said, like to see everyone from uni again. Like people have graduated now, and it's so crazy. But that's what we're going to be talking about in this episode in a second, which is really exciting to have my sister with me on the podcast. But with kind of all of that happening the last few months, I've definitely hit kind of a place where I need to just start focusing on myself again. Since like literally the whole of 2024 or the last 2 years have just been non-stop with, obviously like with my ex, I was seeing him every weekend, and now I've got a new boyfriend that I started seeing in February, and Jan and Feb were like so busy, and I spoke about this before, but they were like such busy months, and I was like, I just want a weekend like to myself, which has been finally this weekend. My parents are still in Portugal, like they stayed out there a bit longer. It's just me and my sister at home now, and I was supposed to go see Dan this weekend, but I'm like, no, I just need a weekend on my own, and I've not had that literally since, I don't even know, like last summer I want to say, but maybe even not, maybe the summer before. Like I've just not had a break, so I'm so happy to just have this time to reset. Like we've been to the gym, we did loads of cleaning yesterday, I started my blogging again, because again I hadn't done that for a month either, so I'm trying to slowly build everything back up. But I'm not going to talk about kind of burnout and stuff, because I speak about that a lot, and I want to do like a solo episode about that, because this episode is already going to be really long. But I have been slowing down a bit more and focusing on work, as I've had like loads of holiday booked off and I'm still in my probation period, so it's been a bit stressful for me on that aspect, because it's summer and I do want to enjoy myself. I've had holiday booked off before I started the job, so that's not my fault, you know, and if my attendance isn't perfect, I've had holiday off, so it's not like the end of the world, you know what I mean? But I'm just trying to pour everything into work right now. And I will say one thing about burnout, that I've recently done a blog post about this, but if you feel a bit like me, like I know the summer can be so overwhelming, especially if you've moved back from uni with your friends, from home, you're seeing them loads, or your parents want to do stuff, you go on holiday and you just feel so burnt out, like you're having a good time but you feel so exhausted. strip it back to like the two basics. If you have a job or if you're studying, this is what I do. I have stripped it back to just self-care, literally like activities of self-care, and also to focus on work. Like those are the only two things. Like, yes, I have a boyfriend, I have socials to do, I have client socials to do, I have a bazillion other things to do, like see my friends, do this. No, I strip it back for at least a couple weeks to a month to just focus on work, like going to work, getting work done, don't think about anything else, and coming home from work and doing self-care. Don't think about, oh, I need to see my boyfriend, oh, I need to phone my boyfriend, oh, I need to phone this friend, oh, I need to do this bit of work, no. Stop stressing, just go back to the basics of work and self-care, or study and self-care. Whatever you're doing in your life right now, do the thing that makes you money or working towards making money, like a degree, and self-care, because we always forget about it. And there is like different forms of self-care where it's kind of subconscious, where you're like going for a walk every morning, or you have your coffee in the kitchen like alone, or you kind of have the more like active role of self-care where you are like actively doing it for self-care. But that's beside the point, and I'll do a whole episode about that another time. But for now, we're going to get into the episode today. So I hope you're looking forward to it, and yeah. So today I'm here with my sister Lani.
Hello.
And today we're going to be talking about kind of all things university, struggles with university, as I know that a lot of you, or some of you, are going to be going off to university very soon, in about a month. So that's kind of the perfect time to talk about all of these things. And my sister has recently graduated as well.
Yeah, so I recently graduated from the University of Bath with a degree in biomedical sciences. It was a great time. I really enjoyed my degree. But I know that's not everyone's university experience, so hopefully we can cover kind of both sides of university and what you could expect and what is realistic and what's not realistic from what the media put out about university.
Yeah, because we both kind of did university from different angles. Like, as you know, I dropped out of university and my sister's graduated, so that's kind of like the main idea of what we're going to be talking about today. But we're just going to get straight into kind of like how you deal with university, as I know this time of the year there's going to be a lot of you going, I'm so stressed to go to university for so many different reasons.
Yeah, I think that it's a completely normal response to moving away from home for the first time and being in a completely different environment.
Yeah, and we went to university kind of straight out of the pandemic and lockdown, so it was so weird for us to be around so many people again, because it was only really that summer that things started to open up again in the UK. So
yeah, but I think in some regard it kind of gave us a leg up in independent learning, because throughout COVID we had to push ourselves to do work because we didn't have teachers over our shoulder doing anything. So I think that there was a massive push for independent learning, so that helped a lot when we went to university.
Yeah, but then everything was still online, and it was a bit, I don't want to say like lonely, but it was still kind of a shock that it was still kind of the same as school, and we were like, oh yeah, we're going to go into lecture halls, and obviously you had like labs and stuff.
I went into my lecture halls. We just had to wear masks.
No, so I didn't really go into lecture halls till second year, and it was only like seminars, but then there were like really small groups, and obviously I did languages, so it was like 8 of us in a group, which was just...
Oh, okay, so that's a completely different thing in itself as well.
Yeah, because I think Warwick still did it with like online lectures for the whole of first year. I mean, first year exams were all online, same with like the final year assessments that year as well.
We only had online exams online lectures if the lecturer had COVID.
Yeah, see, I think that's a better way to do it, but yeah.
Or was old.
Yeah, but then to be fair, because I only had lectures in like linguistics, and then I switched to half linguistics in second year, so I did have more.
Yeah, but I had a few labs and a few lectures, and my labs could either be in health science, which was in a completely different building in itself, which was so open. So
yeah,
but okay, so that's a different experience of first year
yeah,
in itself. Definitely. But obviously everything's opened up now, so the only things that I can talk about and what Ellie can talk about is obviously post-pandemic, like still with precautions. So I mean, I had most of my exams online until final year, which was a shock in itself.
Yeah, because at the end of second year I had like a couple in person, and it was so weird to be in an exam hall again, because we hadn't had them since GCSEs.
The worst grade I ever got was in my first in-person exam.
Yeah.
And I was so upset because it was one of my favourite modules. But
yeah, but like in-person exams were so funny because like you were allowed to leave like half an hour into it, then not 15 minutes till the end. And I left all of my exams, because all the exams I had in person were like the language ones with like translations or like grammar exams. So I just like left really early because I was done. like there's only so much you can translate in like a 2-hour time slot, and everyone would just think I'm having like a panic attack.
No, I would always leave before it was normally a minute before we weren't allowed to leave anymore, and I just never understood, because I mean, the first one I did was mostly multiple choice and a few short answer questions, and I was just thinking, what are these people writing? People were writing essays, and I'm like, you just need to write about half a page to a page for a short answer question. And I mean, yes, it was the worst exam grade I got, but I still didn't do badly.
Yeah, but I also left because like during that time, remember like second year, I feel like it was the same this year though, but it's not actually been that warm this summer though, but last year, because it's always the case, like May and June is always so hot. So I just always wanted to leave early because I had like morning exams. I was like, I just want to get out in the sun, go for a walk. That's what I did. That's why I left
so
early.
nervous. So you don't want to be there for too long. But to be honest, I didn't really understand why. I mean, obviously people write slower, and I'm a very quick writer, so I completely understand that. But I just found I was changing all my answers when I was checking my multiple choice questions, so I just left. And I've done that ever since, to be honest. So
yeah. But I know that a lot of you are going to be a bit nervous right now, and probably this isn't going to help us talking about exams, but as someone who's just graduated, I feel like it's such a good angle to have about you possibly, like, well, yeah, you starting uni now, maybe you're going through clearing, or you're, like, getting ready, you're going to, I don't know, you're shopping on Amazon, Dunelm, like, wherever you're shopping for, like, university stuff, that's probably the most stress, trying to get everything to go, and you still won't have everything, or you'll have way too much, which is definitely what we did.
No, see, I thought I had way too much, but I used everything.
Yeah, because I remember because Lani went to uni like about a week before I did, or like a few days before I did, and all of her stuff were like in the hall, just so many IKEA bags. If you're wondering how to transport everything, use IKEA bags. It's the best thing to do. Like the whole floor of the hall was just covered with just shit.
To be honest, I took way too many clothes because I had such a small room in first year. I had nowhere to put them. So I took way too many clothes. I will say that. You don't need all of your entire life worth of clothes at university. Take what you're going to wear.
Or do it like seasonally, because
that's what I did, yeah.
I'm guessing you're going back home for Christmas and that kind of thing. And then switch it out. I mean, I know January is still cold, but then bring some more like spring stuff, ditch your coats at home. Like that was the best way to do it, to not have everything in your room. But then what you said about your room being so small, that's another thing that we can compare, because in first year, my room it felt like a hotel room. Like it was so nice. I had an ensuite bathroom with a bath as well.
A double bed,
like, and the floor space, I could fit like 2 people in that and an airbed, probably more. Like I had friends like, you know, Arjun, he slept on the floor there one night after one of the socials, just slept on the floor like, on an airbed. It was so funny because he didn't want to go back to his own flat. But like I had such a nice room in first year, whereas Lani, because I remember moving all your stuff in. I
don't think it was even a single bed. I think it was smaller than a single bed. I mean, luckily I'm not 6 foot, but all of my friends who are like 6 foot, they couldn't, all their feet were on their desk to sleep. Yeah. Like the beds weren't even 6 foot long.
Yeah, but like it's a place to sleep, but it literally felt like a prison walking through that. Like,
yeah, that's because it was so skinny.
Yeah, but the corridors were so thin.
Yeah. You see, everyone hated Westwood.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I met all my friends that I'm still friends with, like, my big friend group now. So, I suppose I have a bit of a bias towards liking it, but I really enjoyed it. Because it gets you involved, because you don't want to stay in your room, because it's so small and dingy.
Yeah, and that's something that I would say, like, kind of about starting first year. Like, obviously, you'll have nerves going, but the best advice that I can give you, like, when you're moving your stuff in, is get a doorstop, or is it called? Yeah, a doorstop. Get a doorstop and put it in your door. Like, as soon as you get there, as soon as you start moving your stuff in, leave your door open so people do just walk past. Like, I think our brother said that, or someone told us to do that.
Someone told us to do that, yeah, and I did it as soon as I got there, and no one else was doing it, so I thought, oh no, I'll close my door, and then I closed my door, and about 5 minutes later, I was like, no, Lani, open your door. Yeah, so I opened it, and then
everyone else started
Michael,
to do it.
One of my friends, guy over the
corridor
opposite me in the corridor, did the same, and we didn't talk, we didn't say anything.
No.
I was just unpacking my stuff, and then we said like hi and what our name were and whatever.
Yeah.
But then later on, I closed the door to get changed, and then I just didn't open it back up. But Michael came and knocked on my door and said, "Hey Lani, I think a few of us are going to meet in the kitchen."
Yeah, that's the thing as well.
Do you want to come? And I said, oh yeah, I'll be there in a second. So I got changed and I went and I met everyone. And I'm just remembering it now and it's giving me little butterflies.
It is scary because I was the first girl to move in. Because we had it was kind of like a flat of 10 and it was about 4 or 5 girls. Well, yeah, it was pretty much 50-50. And I remember coming in and everyone thought that I was the mum group straight away because I was the one introducing everyone. But Lani will tell you she's the mum in our friendship group. I am the stupid one that makes loads of stupid mistakes. I'm not a mum kind of friend. But I remember going and I was the first one to open my door. I brought a crate of beer. I think I
that's
made,
really if you drink. If you don't drink, then it's still fine.
I also brought chips and dips. I think I made some cookies as well. Bring something that most people would have. Food is probably the best way to do it.
I brought a bottle of vodka and that was someone nicked it off me.
Yeah, don't do that. Just bring a crate of beer and just put it in the kitchen. And one by one, people will come in. So obviously, people will be in the kitchen, for example, where you do meet everyone. People will be moving all their stuff into the kitchen. Or your mum, our mum would be putting everything into the fridge and making sure you have a good fridge shelf. But that's the best time to move because I moved in the same time the guy next to me moved in. Turns out, he wasn't the most amazing guy. He was a bit of a dickhead to be fair at the end. But I moved in with him. We met his parents. He met my parents, and it was so nice to see all of that interaction. But the kitchen is the best place to meet people because people will be in there sorting stuff out, making their first dinner. That's also quite stressful though as well, I think.
I think I went out for my first dinner. I can't remember.
Yeah, because you're trying to think, oh, it's Freshers Week, are we going out, are we not?
The thing is there's all these expectations that a lot of people say about going and then doing something the first night, but it's most often that the first night, people get there with their parents, they set up, and their parents are staying somewhere in town for the night, so they can kind of be there, they have a meal, so not really everyone's around the first night, and it's a bit underwhelming because you psyched yourself up after meeting people in the day to do something in the night. And it's normally about the second night that you actually do anything because not everyone, I don't know about your flat, but not everyone moved in on the same day.
Yeah, no, because it was so I moved in on the Saturday. There were 2 people there the day before, but they obviously weren't out of their rooms because they didn't know when people were coming. And it was me, John and Josh, there was 3 of us moved in. Again, I was the only girl, so I was a bit oh, this is going to be really annoying. But then we all went out because it was fresher nights all week. We all went out and it was so nice to then meet them, and then we were already really good friends. It is that first night, if you enjoy going out and you enjoy not necessarily drinking, but if you enjoy kind of the social scene, which I know isn't everyone, I feel a lot of people don't. I feel more people don't, to be honest. But if you enjoy the social scene, that first night or the first couple nights they are fun if you enjoy it. But I get that some people don't, or they're so scared to do it, or they just don't enjoy it, or they go to bed early, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So what I recommend, this was specifically for the University of Bath, so if you're going there, then this is great advice, but if somewhere else, they normally have an equivalent to this, but there's a freshers wristband that you can get, which seems really expensive, and it was 70 quid or something, maybe. Yeah. I think it's 70 quid now, but it was less, I don't remember. Anyway, and it gets you into all the freshers events. Get it, because you can't get tickets when you're there.
Yeah.
Because I was holding out for ages, and then I just said, you know what, I'm just going to get it, because if I don't use it, I don't use it. But obviously everyone...
I did that as well.
Yeah, and I ended up using it, I think, 3 out of the 7 times or something. So it wasn't... But it's just because you go to the first few events, everyone goes to the first few freshers events, and then people kind of tail off because they are ill, because they're one night after the other.
Yeah, because you think of the freshers flu myth, it's so true.
It's so true.
To be fair, it's because everyone is mixing, especially after COVID. We hadn't been mixing at all, and people are coming from all across the country or the world as well.
Oh, the world, yeah. There's international students.
Yeah, and you are ill, mainly the whole first time. You go back for Christmas home, and then you come back after Christmas, you're ill again. And it just doesn't stop, and then second year, you're ill again because you come back after summer, everyone's been everywhere.
Yeah, I was ill quite a bit in first year, and then I got tonsillitis. And that kind of also leads on to another point of first year about going home and when you should go home, because that was a debate when we got there, because I was the one that kind of reached out to the people in my flat once I'd settled in, because I was one of the first there in the group. So as I was talking about earlier, when I went to the kitchen, I met 3 guys who still really good friends with. One's my boyfriend. Flat cest, oops. But then when all the girls arrived, we kind of all went out for like a coffee. And anyway, we were talking about when should you go home, and someone suggested that science has shown that if you wait 6 weeks, I don't think that's true. I think she was just making it up. Yeah. But you should wait at least 6 weeks because you're going to be homesick and you're going to want to go home. I mean, I was quite an independent person at the time, and I still wanted to go home within the first few weeks. I think it was about 4 weeks and I went home because we went on holiday somewhere. Mm-hmm. I think we went to Portugal.
We did, yeah.
For Halloween.
It was for Grandad's 80th.
Yeah. And also Halloween. But so I had to go home, but someone was saying 6 weeks, and I do think that trying to limit the amount you go home before Christmas is definitely a strategy, because going home when you're homesick means that you're kind of relying on
going home
family more so than finding friends who are also, everyone is homesick. Everyone, well, not everyone, but most people are homesick, and most people are completely out of their depth. So I think I went home for that, and then I got tonsillitis and I went home because, not that I needed my mummy, but because I was in bed shaking ill and I just wanted someone to look after me. And at the time, obviously, friends aren't necessarily going to be doing that. I mean, half of my flat had COVID, so I had to isolate in their rooms.
Yeah.
So it's a very different subject for different people, because Ellie went home almost every weekend.
I did, yeah.
Which I think was a bit of a downfall in her liking university as well, because the weekend is where you would hang out and just chill with people.
Yeah, see, I didn't like weekends because no one would do anything. Like, my friends, everyone would just do work, because I mean, all my friends did maths and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So everyone would just sit in their rooms. But then because I did go home, I mean, I had a lot going on though anyway. Like, uni wasn't the right time for me to go to uni, but I can't take that back now anyway. But it was like, because our parents went away on holiday as soon as we were like shipped off to uni. They went away for like 2 or 3 weeks. So it was after that. I think I waited like another week or so, but then I went home. But I went home for a couple days, because again, like, Warwick is like less than an hour from my house anyway, so it wasn't that big of an issue. And that first time I went home, I wasn't like, oh, I don't want to go back. But then it was like every time I went home, which wasn't quite every weekend. The second time it was like the rest of uni, it was every weekend. But it was like, oh my god, I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back. And it was just, I did hate uni in that first year because there was a lot going on. And first time, I don't know about you, but like first time I put myself out there too much, and I was going out all the time, making myself ill because of it, because I was like, I'm the party girl, I need to show them that like I'm the one that like parties all the time.
See, I was definitely like that, because, by the way, everyone in Freshers Week is a completely different person to who they actually are. Everyone goes to uni with this ambition to change themselves if they don't particularly like something about themselves. So I don't think taking everyone at face value is the right thing to do at Freshers, because everyone is different. I partied all the time, which I, to be honest, still do. Yeah. But I realised then that I was very much an extrovert. So
yeah,
I think you realised that you weren't an extrovert in that first few weeks, because I realised that I got energy off of being around people, and I still do.
But like, with kind of like going home though, like, there is no shame, because I spoke to a few people, because I went home most weekends and I played hockey, and obviously the matches were like the like league matches were on a weekend. Obviously Bucks, like, playing against different unis, were on a Wednesday. But so I missed out on quite a lot of matches because I was going home. But I was speaking to a couple of people in the team, and this one girl in particular was like, I go home all the time, and she lived in Cambridge. Like, that wasn't like close to go home to. But like, her mum came every weekend to watch the matches. She was always with her mum, and I think she was still in third year. Like, I've seen her post stuff, and she's always with her mum, and she's like the top hockey supporter. Like, she's always there. But like, I spoke to her, she was like, look, I go home all the time. It's absolutely fine. And it is different, like...
Do you not lose an element of independence there, though? Because
well, yeah.
My weekends were filled with, like, me going to the shops and getting my shopping by myself or with a few friends or whatever. I feel like if you're constantly going home, or, like, your family are with you, you don't learn to do things by yourself.
Yeah, but I think it is that balance, because if you're genuinely feeling, like, really homesick, or you're sick, like,
oh yeah,
go home then. Or if,
no, I'm not saying don't go home. I'm just saying that I found it helpful that, because then after Christmas you're not homesick at all. You want to get back to uni. I found that I wanted to get back to uni because I was fed up of being home. I mean, it helps that I also had a boyfriend at that point who I was living with at uni and not when I was home.
Well then,
but
yeah, and it is that thing, like, a lot of people that I knew, like in my flat, like some of my closest friends, a lot of people like didn't go home until Christmas, or even at Christmas they stayed until like the very last minute to go home. That's just because like they enjoyed living on their own. They enjoyed the university like life.
Yeah.
Where it was, even if they were the only one in the flat or something, or in the house in second year, whatever, but they enjoyed staying there because like they didn't want to go home. Like there was no point getting home, or the train was really expensive, so they didn't want to go just yet.
That was me.
Yeah, that was you. Yeah, but
I also think that I enjoyed being at uni because home was a bit of a shit show. Like,
yeah,
because you were not mentally stable. Fletcher was doing God knows what.
Yeah.
And being at uni was actually more comforting to me.
Yeah, but I learned that in second year though.
Yeah.
But before we go on to that, I want to hear your top 3 tips for someone starting uni, first year. Actually, let's do top 3 tips of freshers and starting uni, and then we'll do top 3 tips of first year in general.
So I think that my first tip is definitely what we've talked about, where it's leave your door open and someone walking past will say hi. Or you can say hi to someone walking past. I said hi to someone who actually turned out to be one of my flatmate's sisters. So that was funny.
Wait, whose sister?
This aunt's sister.
Oh.
And along with that, on the first day, don't have any expectations for it. You're meeting people, you're wanting to unpack. I spent the first night unpacking, so instead of going out, and then the second night, I think I went out.
Yeah, but with that as well, a tip that I just put in quickly is, if obviously like when you find out that you got into the uni and you've accepted that place, a lot of the time you can go on Facebook and find like WhatsApp group chats.
Yeah, so I was talking to a couple girls from beforehand.
Yeah,
that's true actually.
And when you find out your accommodation as well, like I was in one called like Jack Martin, a lot of them then go on WhatsApp and make groups on that, which was so helpful, because I was speaking to this one girl who was actually in the flat below me, but we were like speaking on Snapchat like loads before we actually like moved in.
See, we didn't talk loads. Like I was talking to Nina because she was in my flat, and also we were doing biomedical science together. So I was talking to her a lot and about what we need to do in terms of like filling forms in on everything. And then obviously on the main group chat we would put when people were moving in and what we should do.
Yeah.
But also a lot of people may have friends, so I had a couple of flatmates who had friends that they'd come from home with, so then they're going to spend a lot of time with them. So I think it's just completely just not having any expectations. And also friendship groups change throughout the year. I was in a completely different friendship group in my flat, because I had a flat of 22 people. I had a very big flat. They change. I was with one group of friends and like 2 girls who I thought that I would be with like forever, and then like it changed, and I became really good friends with other people. It's complete. I also feel like because I became my weirdo self towards like as the year went on, so I kind of dropped out of the more like popular sporty group and more into the weirdo group, which I love.
But like even with making friends, like I know some people that hated their flat, and I think my advice there is that there will be one person in your flat that you will get on with, but you know that might not be the case either. Like, you might be put with a flat with all like partying people, like they drink clothes, they might smoke clothes as well, and you're not like that. I know that as well. So make sure maybe when you get to do your like accommodation choices, you do go on things like Reddit, Facebook. You do actually do a bit of Googling. If you're someone that is quite a particular person, like maybe you are a partier and you want to be with those people. Like we had different accommodation, like Roots at Warwick was the shittest accommodation, but that's where the parties always were. Yeah,
but that's also the cheapest. So you have to also, because I was in, so I did apply for the most expensive as well. And I was very privileged to be able to do that, but I ended up getting like the second like least expensive, which again, it's not about money, but it does make a difference. But I'm so glad that I wasn't put in the most expensive accommodation, because I have a couple friends who did, and they found it very isolating because a lot of people in that accommodation were international students. Yeah. So they wouldn't really interact. They would find like people from their own like country or other international students, which is completely fine. But that does happen, because obviously if you're from a completely different country, you're going to want to find someone who is also from your like speaks your language more so, and someone you could be yourself around. Yeah, but I remember you crying about getting that accommodation. Because I mean, when I got there, it was awful. It was bad. But then I had like, because we always made the joke for that, because Lani went to Bath Uni and I had a bath in my
like flat. We always made the joke about
Yeah,
that.
so I had a shared kitchen, which everyone does obviously.
Yeah.
And a shared bathroom, which I didn't really care about the size of the rooms because I thought it's just me and them, it doesn't really matter. But it was the shared bathroom and the shared showers and everything that I had a problem with, because I mean I'm a bit of a neat freak. I'm not OCD or anything, but...
Well, there was only one shower, wasn't there, for girls and one for boys?
No, it was mixed. There were 3 showers and 4 toilets, but then we ended up splitting it girls and boys because the boys were disgusting.
Yeah.
See, the girls were as well. It's actually mad because everyone say the boys are disgusting. I found that it's equal, but the boys don't pick each other up on it,
No.
whereas I would pick the girls up on it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So it is different, but
yeah.
it actually ended up being so funny because you just kind of bump into people in the bathroom or whatever. But we had 3 kitchens and I was in the smallest kitchen, which actually turned out to be a blessing because there was only 4 of us in it, whereas the other kitchens had about 10 people in and they were disgusting.
Yeah.
So a few people actually ended up cooking in our kitchen towards the end because it was just disgusting.
That, yeah.
But our flat was clean compared to other flats I went into as well, though.
Yeah, no, whenever I came it wasn't that gross actually.
No.
Ours was, oh my god. See,
I suppose that also leads on to the other tip, which is not everything's going to be clean. I mean, the one bonus of having a shared bathroom was that a cleaner every week came in. So
did you have that in your kitchen as well?
They would clean like a round thing. So if you left stuff in there,
Yeah.
they wouldn't pick it up or anything, but they would mop them back, sort of thing.
We had it, so yeah, we had like a cleaner come into the kitchen every week, but it was always like, because did you have also like, I don't know what the word is, but like 2 like postgrads or mature students who were like lived in your like block as well that like oversaw like any issues?
No, they would come in every month and check that we're all okay. That was what
like,
they did.
They lived in our flat
And they
as
like
well.
had to summon you into the kitchen to be able to tick off your name. And
Yeah.
I was like, not everyone's here. And they're like, well, can you get them here? And I said, no. Like,
yeah.
They're out. Like,
but,
we're not...
Yeah, but I remember us being absolutely bollocked because there were 2 people in our flat that were just disgusting, and by the end of it I threw all of their cutlery and plates away because they just didn't wash up. And our cleaner, you had like 3 strikes, because if they came in, like at that time, I think it was every Wednesday, if they came in and saw it being gross, they'd be like, if someone was in there or they grabbed someone, they'd be like, you need to clean this in the next like 10 minutes, or like just put stuff away, just shove it in cupboards, I don't care because I can't clean it. And then by the end of the year, like they just didn't come in and clean it, and then those like 2 like mature students would be like, guys, you really need to clean this kitchen. So I just threw everything away that was just disgusting, because people would just leave stuff everywhere and they take your stuff and it's just gross. And one thing I say with that is don't be the one that cleans it, because I was the one that would scrub it every week before the cleaners would come in because it was that gross. But also don't be the person to leave your shit everywhere. You are going to, like, if you, after a night out, like, yeah, it was a mess the next morning because like most of us would just leave stuff everywhere. But don't be the person to like never do your washing up, or it's not fair on anyone else.
No, but I had again the blessing of having the smaller kitchen, so we wouldn't have parties and stuff in there where not parties, you wouldn't gather in there, you'd gather in the 2 end kitchens, which were the bigger kitchens. So I didn't have all of the cans and beer bottles and everything everywhere. But I mean, we kind of had it on a rota. It wasn't a rota, it was just if the bin was full, take it out, because that's the one thing that gets really gross is the bins.
Yeah.
But I mean, I was the person who cleans, but I also cleaned the end kitchens a couple times because I just clean when I'm stressed. So that helped. I like helping out people, especially if they're not in the right mindset to do their cleaning, which is fair enough. I think that, yeah, don't be the one that cleans up after everyone, because then you become relied upon to do that, which I found out in 2nd year.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyway, and the last tip, which is mostly for girls, I think, and maybe for guys, but I know a lot of my friends struggled with this before uni, is not everyone has had sex. A lot of girls are virgins when you go to uni, and I mean, I put such a pressure on myself, and I thought I would be the only one that was a virgin when I went to uni.
Yes.
I mean, I hadn't even had my first proper kiss until uni, until I was 18. So, and also don't put pressure on yourself to go out and shag people. I know a lot of people did that and they regret it. Just be yourself, and I mean, I found my boyfriend in my flat. Found my boyfriend.
Yeah.
I ended up falling in love with one of the guys in my flat, and we were friends first, But
you hated him at first.
I really didn't like him at first. Yeah, that's really funny. But now we've been together for nearly 3 years.
3 years, yeah.
Which
So
is mad,
I remember being jealous of you when you were like, oh, like Arthur, like I've got a boyfriend. And when I met him that first time, when you were like just getting together, and then I remember like whenever you told me things that was like happening between you two, I was like so jealous. I was like, I want a boyfriend, I want all that, and I was just so jealous.
But I mean, I was so lucky in that regard. It's not normal, to be honest. And also, I think that I would say that unless it's what I had, where we just fell for each other, I think don't get a boyfriend so early on, because you should be experiencing life. And it did segregate us a bit from the group, because then we were wanting to spend a lot of time with each other.
Yeah.
But I mean, it just happens, doesn't it?
Yeah. But no, like I wouldn't say most people, it might be 50-50, but no, I would say those that I know, most people are a virgin when they go to uni.
Most of my friends were.
Yeah, and it's nothing to like be ashamed of. Like, I know people that are still virgins now, and like even older people that are still virgins. Like, it's not the be all and end all.
It's not like school. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's I suppose a tip in itself. It's nothing like school. Everyone is an adult.
But
everyone is responsible for their own actions as well. That is a big thing.
You do have a few, especially girls, that do still think that they're in school. Like, I did know a couple of people that, of course, there are going to be those people, but
I've also found that they continue to think that, and they continue to be a cliquey person.
Bitchy people.
Yeah, and I said that to Mum, and Mum said, yeah, no, they always are like that.
Yeah, because even when they get older, they're still the same.
Yeah, it's just be yourself is, again, just the overall, I suppose.
Yeah. Even though, like, obviously, when you first go to uni, everyone does kind of put a false pretense on, because you're still trying to suss people out. You don't know who to trust yet. I don't know. It's not quite like that, but you don't know everyone's, I don't know like agendas, but you don't know, like, some people are there just to study. They don't want to make friends. Some people are there to be, like, the party girl, or, like, they want to make loads of friends and have, like, loads of people, and they're, like, the B-knock.
I think it also depends. It depends on your degree, though, as well. Because I didn't find many friends in my degree. There was a massive friendship group that was in my degree.
Yeah.
But me and Nina kind of stuck together, which I suppose I would have found more friends if me and Nina hadn't just been together throughout it all. But I felt all my friends were in my flat, so I didn't really make an effort to go and make new ones. Throughout the years I did, but
yeah, because that was me, like, because I did like languages, obviously, like the classes like seminars were really small. So there was one of our seminars, I think it was translation in first year in Spanish. It was just a group of like 6 of us girls, and we would like go out for drinks quite a lot of the time, and it was so sweet to like have that. But then obviously in second year, like the classes all changed again. Like we still had the same seminars, but we had different people. I was like, I've never seen any especially in Spanish, all of my seminars were with completely different people that I'd never seen before.
See, I didn't have seminars until final year.
Yeah.
So all of my lectures were about 300 people, because it wasn't just biomed, it was biochem and natural sciences and biology and sports science. So all of my lectures were so big that you just go, you do the lecture, you'd leave. And I mean, I didn't even end up going to half of my lectures by the end of the year. I'd like make such an effort to go at the beginning, and then by the end, because they're all online, they're all recorded, so I would just do them online.
And another tip with that is make sure you check your attendance if it counts towards your degree.
Oh yeah, mine didn't.
Mine didn't either, but I know
labs did. I had to go to my labs, but
I know a lot of people did.
And I had to go to my seminars in final year.
Yeah, in seminars, yeah.
But that's because you're expected to contribute.
So kind of moving on to like second year now, what was your like big difference that you felt when you like first started, or like throughout it compared to first year?
So a big difference is that you realise that first year is very fake in a way, in terms of you're in a very controlled environment. You're being the security all around you, you're being checked on by people. It's your first year, so the content isn't exactly that hard. They're just trying to get everyone up to the same level, because obviously everyone's done different A-levels, B-techs, other things from around the world that I don't know. Yeah. Baccalaureate, is that it?
Yeah, that's Europe.
Yeah, well, all of those. When moving into your own house, which obviously you found within the first few months of knowing people at uni. So I moved in with 4 girls, one that I knew from back home, and 3 of people in my flat. It's very, very weird, because you've got to figure out how you're getting up to campus, and getting up to go to your 9 a.m. lectures is disgusting because you have to get up and leave the house by like 8.
Yeah.
Whereas you're used to getting up at 9 and running across campus in 15 minutes to get to your lectures.
Because I was in first year, like my accommodation was right by where like the language classes were. Then in second year, because like with Warwick, you got to live a 20-minute drive away, but the bus would take over an hour because the whole of second year there were roadworks like the main way in. So it'd take like an hour and 20 minutes to get onto campus, which was just like.
Mine would take an hour just because you'd get there, so it was about a 10-minute walk to the bus stop from where I was. And then there was always a massive queue.
Yeah, that was
queue.
The worst thing. Like, luckily I was in a bit of like Leamington Spa where I was living, where the bus wasn't that busy yet, but most people lived like at the other end, and the queues were like, I remember coming back from campus back to uni, those queues to get on the bus. Going back to like where I was living, the queue to get on the bus, like you'd be waiting for like an hour to even get a bus. So that's why then I took my car to uni. Because it was just so much easier. Like, you've got to pay for parking, but then if there's a few of you in the car.
So, because Arthur, my boyfriend, drove in third year, and it was way better. And I actually would say it was a bit cheaper, because, yes, we were paying for fuel. To be honest, towards the end, I wasn't paying him anything. But we were paying for fuel and parking. But in the end, it ended up just being me and him going up. So he would pay for parking, I'd buy him a coffee. But it was a lot easier because you could also leave, but it would still take about half an hour. It was probably a 15-minute drive, but it would still take half an hour in the traffic. But so anyway, that's a big change because you've got to start factoring in that,
and that is more like real life as well.
You end up losing so much motivation to go in though,
especially
because
with me,
you can do it online the next day.
Because the commute with me was like so it was so long, especially if I had a 9 a.m. Especially when it hit like January and February where it was so cold. I didn't go in so many times because of the ice, or like the buses were just so fucked up in second year. Loads of us complained, but like they just wouldn't do anything about it.
Yeah, but the thing is I was getting really frustrated, and then I heard people in Bath, just normal residents in Bath, complaining about the students. And I was a bit like, oh, that's a bit weird. But then they were saying no, because when a student complains about how the buses up to campus aren't running efficiently, one gets taken off from around town to then go and do that service. So then they can't get home because their bus isn't running because it's been designated to the students. So I think that they're doing the best that they can. But it does suck because they should be accommodating, especially because, I mean, this year about 4 new accommodation blocks have been built in town for students because there's so many. Because, I mean, there's 2 universities in Bath. And I don't know how they're going to accommodate that, but not my problem.
No. But it was like so many times, me and like my best friend Zoe from uni, like if I always had like early morning ones, she had like midday one, like afternoon ones, which I was so jealous about. But if I'd like wait for like 10 to 20 minutes for a bus, and most of the time it wouldn't come, so then I'd just be like, okay, right, I'm not going in. I'd go back inside, I'd look on like the bus app, the bus still hasn't come, so I'm like, okay, I feel better about it now. But then it got so bad because it was just cold and I just had no motivation, so I wasn't going to uni then. I got those emails about my attendance, but my attendance didn't count, but they like, it was quite nice to have like from a personal tutor. Even some of my like lecturers were like, are you okay, like you've not been in? And I was just like, to be fair, I wasn't okay anyway, but I was like, I just don't want to come in, like I'm not coming. So that's why it is good to have friends in your like seminars and stuff, because mine weren't recorded. So like that's why I was like, oh, can you just send me your notes?
No, I'd only ever miss them if they were recorded. I'd check that they were recorded. But there was a few times where I was in the bus queue and the bus wasn't coming, and I very much think that if you're going to be more than 5-10 minutes late, there's no point in going in because you've missed a huge chunk, because lectures aren't like classes. Like they teach you so much information within that hour. Another thing I'd say is I never ever fell asleep at school, never. And then I came to uni sitting in a warm lecture hall, especially when I was wearing a mask. And I just find my eyes like slowly going to sleep. And I managed to rectify that as I got on through like my degree. But obviously most of it is because you're drinking all the time and not sleeping enough. I mean, I did not sleep enough in first year whatsoever.
No.
But just making continuous notes, even if they're not going to help, helps a lot, because
just write everything
you
down.
Just need to find something to keep you awake. Which I know sounds really weird, but they are boring.
Like what I used
they
to
are
do,
boring.
So I was like doing it on my laptop. If they said something like, I was doing linguistics, if they said like a term or like a writer or an author that I'd not heard of, like no one else would do it, but I'd like look them up to like keep me like busy. Because
Yeah.
sometimes some of my lecturers would ramble on about useless stuff. That was actually useless stuff, like about their own research or something. Which
see, I thought it was useless, so I'd never pay attention, and then it was in the exam.
Yeah, same with me. But then
I was like, this isn't fair. It's not supposed to be like this.
Yeah, because like my linguistics exams were like mainly multiple choice, like for phonology. Which is like, if you don't know what phonology is, it's like the sounds you make basically. The exam I had, and my tutor was also someone who I'm in contact now with, doing like a journal for the sociology paper, which is insane. And because I did the podcast thing with him, and he said, yeah, there'll be like 5 questions at the end of the multiple choice exam about my research. So he sent us some links. I read through a little bit of it, but he was like, these don't count. But obviously they do, because they can't take them off the percentage. They can't give you like a bonus mark for it. So obviously all of us got them wrong, because he said they won't count. It's just to show if you've done it, to me, like personally, if you've read my research. But then of course loads of us got like minus 5% because we didn't do that bit.
That's wrong, that.
Yeah.
But no, I think that unless you are in seminars, I suppose, like you are, or there's a very small cohort of you being taught by one person, I don't really think that you need to know about your lecturer's research. I know about a couple just because they were my dissertation supervisor or my personal tutor or someone I was meeting with.
Yeah.
Which is they're not really, well, they're very, very important things in your final year, but that's more personal. But no.
But and with that as well, like I assume that everyone at every uni has like your personal tutor that you might meet up with, or like do like a Teams call with like once a term.
I never did. So after first year it was like obligatory to meet with your personal tutor every few weeks or every week.
Really?
Yeah, and then second year it wasn't compulsory, but you could. So I think I met with her twice, and then third year I just emailed her back and forth a few times. Yeah. Because I was a bit stressed about my dissertation, and that's it. But then Arthur met with his personal tutor all the time, but that's because they were also really good friends, and they'd have a coffee together. And I mean, I really got on with my personal tutor. I think she was really lovely. But then she was the head of personal tutors. So then she'd be like, oh guys, make sure that you're meeting with your personal tutor because they're obviously your referee. But at the end of the day, they're only your referee to be able to confirm that you are actually the person that did your degree. Yeah. Like,
that's what they're there for. But because like I had a lot going on at uni, and it's not like school where you can just like run crying to a teacher. But for the whole of first year where I did struggle, like I didn't kind of let my personal tutor know until like my mum was like, you should really let him know. But I was like, I don't really want to do that because it's not like I'm at school. But then if you are struggling, or you need help with, like, you don't know where to find something, or you need help with some forms, or like anything, message your personal tutor, because that's what they're there for. Like, yeah, okay, the lecturers themselves as well, like, they are busy people. They're not just a personal tutor.
Yeah, but also I know so many, like, of my friends had really bad personal tutors.
Oh, yeah, like,
but
definitely.
I don't know about Warwick, but Bath has a peer mentor scheme, and I was a peer mentor for first years through second and third year. I don't think I did it third year, I did it second year. And I would reach out to them all the time. Because
I did that with
first year's so, like, complicated, because I didn't have my, like, peer mentor didn't really do anything in first year. But I would text them all the time. I should probably delete their numbers, actually. But just to make sure that they're okay. Because it is a very isolating time in first year. But, like, can be, if you're not putting yourself out there. But anyway, back to second year.
Yeah, I feel like another thing to say is, because first year I struggled like the social side of it, just because like I just didn't want to do it, and like first term I just did it too much. Then second year was when like mentally I was feeling a bit better. I mean, at the start anyway, but then that's when I started to do, like, I dropped out of hockey, but I was doing loads of like the Wednesday night socials with so many different societies. Like my friend was in art, I was doing that with her. We did swimming sometimes with friends. Like that's when I think in second year you learn, if you're like, the things you want to do, like with societies as well. Just in first year, or like you can join them again in second year. You can join at any time.
Oh yeah, I started taekwondo in second year.
Yeah.
And then I mean I didn't do it for very long because I sprained both my ankles on a night out, and then didn't go for a while and fell out of love with it. But just join them. Like join something that you would never find yourself doing.
It's like
it's so refreshing to try something new, and you might be really good at it.
Because me. And a couple of my friends in second year, we were like, should we join cocktail society? Like, if like someone like a friend or like someone you're just getting to know or something like at uni is like, oh, I want to try this society, do it with them, like the first taster one, even if you're like,
Yeah.
that is so not me.
I
Just
dragged my
go.
boyfriend along to Taekwondo.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to be the only new face there, and then I ended up bringing like 4 or 5 friends along, and a couple of them ended up doing it continuously. Then I realised I didn't like being hit and didn't like hitting people, so I stopped it.
Like, it's just about getting involved, because in second year, like the end of first year, when like I started recovery as well, like I was a lot happier with where I was. I suddenly like applied to be like PR social media manager of the German Society, and then I was social sec for Warwick Swift Sock, the Taylor Swift Society, and then also Art Society this year, when I've not even been at university in like my third year. Like I dropped out and I was still the social sec, so I was still going back, like that kind of thing. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but that's just an example of just sign up to things, like even if you don't get it.
In third year I went to the tasters for different things. The one I remember most is hockey, because I did hockey throughout school. And I thought, you know what, I miss it a bit, so I went and did the taster. The only thing is I never stuck with societies at Bath, because one, they're really expensive if you want to do them, because you need the kit, and they're expensive, and I wasn't that in love with it, so I didn't do it. But also with Bath specifically, everyone it's such a sporty university that there isn't really recreational. There are, but I found, because I also did tennis a bit, there aren't really, everyone who puts themselves in the beginner group or the intermediate group aren't. So I was, with tennis especially, I wasn't a beginner. Like, there were people who couldn't hit the ball, but then people would put themselves in the intermediate group, because it wasn't monitored as such. It was just people like older years coaching younger years, and it wasn't even coaching, it was just to hit around a ball. But people who should have been in the advanced were being like, oh no, I'm not advanced, because the advanced were like Olympic level tennis players. So then they weren't advanced, but they weren't intermediate, so then I'd try and hit with the intermediates and I couldn't. So it wasn't really monitored that well, and because my parents and you and Fletch were always like, join a sports society, and I tried, I really did, but
well, so did I
did lacrosse a bit as well, but I did a few sessions of everything and realised that I didn't want to be getting up at 7 a.m. to do fitness sessions, because that's what you had to do if you wanted to join one.
I hated it, but then they switched it to 5 p.m, which was so much better. But then it was like Friday nights, because that's the thing at uni also, like with parties or like going out, people don't go out on weekends. Like, you know, being at home, like over this, like whenever you turn 18, if you do go out, like you go out on Friday or Saturday nights, sometimes Thursday nights. But at uni, we did not go out on a weekend, and because that's kind of the time.
Weekend you don't, because it's more expensive as well, because there's not student nights on the weekend.
Yeah, that's just like normal, like the town people go those nights.
And it's busy.
Yeah, but like on a Friday night, it was when we'd like go to Birmingham. Sometimes they did like this party bus, but then I did that a couple of times with a couple of the hockey girls. But then we'd get back at like 3 a.m. or like I think the bus picked us up at like 3 a.m. Get back at like 4 a.m. Had a hockey match at 7 a.m. And that was just like, if you want to do sport, you got to be committed to it. Otherwise, there's no point, because you're doing it half-assed. Your coach, your captain, like your team, like don't care.
But you just do the recreational.
Yeah, because I mean, I was put into the second team, which I was quite surprised at. I mean, I know Warwick isn't that sporty, but it was a lot sportier than I thought it would be. And I was put in the second team like straight away, and I was like, oh, okay, wow. But then I just fell out of love with it, because I was going home on the weekends, and it just wasn't, it was quite bitchy, because everyone there went to boarding schools and like top tier private schools, and everyone knew of each other, like everyone, it was like, I went to the pre-season in the summer before
Warwick's
uni,
a smaller uni, isn't it?
So. And it is like very like boarding school vibes, and I went to the pre-season like...
There's no problem, there's no issue with that, it's just they're very cliquey.
They all just came over to you like, so what school did you go to? And they all like know of each other, they're all like cousins, or like, they're all with like their like brother, and it's just, it's such incesty vibes, the way to put it, and I just felt a bit of like an outsider with it, and it was fine, like, I just didn't do it. Like, I met a friend who felt the same, and we both kind of quit at the same time, but it was just a bit, I don't know, it was a bit bitchy.
Anyway, second year. I kind of bet it third year, but so yeah, I was living with, there was 5 girls, including me. And when you're living with girls, that many girls, it ends up being kind of segregated. So there's 5 of us, so it ended up being me and my friend Jen, and then Nina and Anya, and then Charlotte kind of kept to herself. But it ends up kind of splitting like that, just because, I mean, me and Jen wanted to go out more, and that's how it turned out to be. And us two were more involved with our overall friendship group than the rest. So we'd end up going around to their house a lot more. But
they were around at yours quite a lot as well.
It turned a bit bitchy. Living with that many girls for that long obviously is going to... Like, living with anyone, you need to realise that me and Natanya would call it the 3-week period, because you live with someone for about 3 weeks and then they start to get on your nerves. And
yeah.
Because you're treading on each other's toes. You're living in the same house. People are cooking when you want to cook, and people are doing things when you would rather be doing things. And I was always the one sitting in the living room, because we had a really nice living room.
Yeah.
Both years, actually. But so I would always sit in there because I like to be around people. But then no one would really sit in there. So then I think maybe my flatmates thought that I was kind of taking over the house, when it wasn't. It was just, I liked being in the living room.
Yeah. But in the contrast with me, though, I did love, first and second year, because second year it was 3 girls and 7 guys. And it did just work so much better because, I mean, I was closest to one girl than the other, but like we were all really close, and we didn't really go out that much. It was just me and Zoe that would go out all the time, and some people would join us, but it was a big difference to have just like guys in the flat, because it was a lot messier, trust me, but it was...
my house was really clean.
But you have like different relationships with guy friends and like girlfriends, and that's what I really loved. Like, I remember sometimes, like, if Zoe was still at home, like, she didn't come back for, like, the exam period and stuff, and I was, like, crying, and I was like, Zoe's not here. I'd knock on one of the guys' doors, and it'd be a completely different conversation you'd have with them. But, like, they'd be like, oh, it'll be fine. Just chill. I don't know how to answer this, but just, it'll be fine. Like, I had, like, boyfriend problems, and this guy Lex that, and I hope he's listening to this, because he'll remember this. I was, like, crying, and he heard me crying in my room, and he was down the corridor. He was walking past, because I was, like, by the front door. And he was like, are you okay? I was like, no, I'm not okay, but it's fine. I don't want to, like, burden you, because he was going through shit as well. We just had, like, an hour chat about it.
Yeah.
And
another thing, actually, that you said is, in second year, my boyfriend lived about a 10-minute walk away. So I'd go over there and he'd come over a lot. And we, like, go back and forth. Not every night. I think that it wasn't really healthy if you were spending every night together. But in our relationship, that is.
Yeah.
But, obviously you need to check with your housemates if they're okay, because obviously there's 5 of us girls there, and he was almost kind of over whenever he felt like it. So, whenever I wanted him over, he felt like it. So you need to kind of check that as well, because that does add a different dynamic, because then there's 6 of you in the house, or because I was the only one with through most of the year with a boyfriend, like a permanent boyfriend. So it does get different, and you just need to tackle situations as they come along, but checking that it's okay to have people round. Obviously, it's your house, you're paying rent, you can have whoever you want round, but
don't take the piss.
Don't take the piss. And I mean, whenever we'd have the friendship group round ours, which it kind of went between our house and the boys' house, which was a complete mess, which we didn't like to go around throughout the end of the year because it was disgusting. It's checking whether it's okay, because either people who don't want to be involved can be out of the house, or they can kind of arrange their own thing, or they'll just stay in their room.
Give them warning,
or they can join in. Everyone was always welcome to join in, and sometimes they did, sometimes they didn't.
But that was like with me, like, because obviously living with 10 people, it was at least once a week someone would have like people over. Like, I would have sometimes like the German society, like if we had meetings, I was like, well, just come over, like we've got a big place to meet. Like, if we didn't, like, a lot of time we met like at a cafe or something, but that was the kind of thing, because we all lived around the same area. I was like, I'll just come over. And then other people in my flat as well who had like society meetings, or like they wanted their friends over, we'd always be like, hey, do you mind if I have like these people over for like this time? Like, if it's like a party, I'd be like, like people can join in or whatever, but is it okay? If it's messy, I'll tidy up. It is that kind of just respect for everyone else, but you don't have to always ask everything. So I remember, because I got a boyfriend like in the summer before second year, and I remember like the first time I wanted him to come over, I was like, oh, is it okay if he comes over? And everyone was like, what the fuck? Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, but some people are like funny about it, because I had a friend who was in a house who had to like let them know every single time that their boyfriend was coming over, which I found a bit odd in itself as well. Like, it's not really their business if they're coming over.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just different. I mean, if you're being loud, I think anything that is creating excessive noise, you should be telling your house about. And if someone's going to be in and out, then you should be telling them about.
No, it's just,
but if someone's just coming over, like, for a cup of tea, be like, oh yeah, so-and-so's coming over for a cup of tea. Like,
oh yeah, I know.
It's
if I had friends from home come over, I'd just be like, yeah. But then when you guys all came over for a few days,
Oh, well, that's because there was 3 of us.
yeah, there was like a lot of them coming. I was like, oh, these people are coming, and just like warn everyone, especially if you like do invite a few people.
No, there were 4
from
of us.
home.
Sorry.
Yeah, there was quite a lot of you over, and they all slept in my room, which was so funny. But like having a lot of people over, definitely check in with the other people. Like everyone will be fine with it. There might be one person that's like, no, like you can't do that, or I'm having people over this weekend. Just be like, okay, cool, like whatever.
Yeah. But yeah, so then in contrast to second year when I was living with the girls, in final year it was me and 3 guys, which was a complete 180 in some regards, but then it actually turned out being a bit bitchier and more drama in final year. I mean, final
they didn't
year...
clean.
No, they did clean. No, they didn't.
You had to tell them.
I had to tell them to clean, which is in itself annoying because it's like I was mothering them almost, and like, can someone please clean, because I'm always cleaning. And they're like, yeah, but I cleaned. I'm like, yeah, you cleaned with me.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, but I cleaned. I'm like, yeah, you've all 3 have independently cleaned with me.
Yeah. But it's like
'Cause 2 of you clean.
Yeah, no, I also like loved your house as well, because I wasn't at uni, so your third year house, because I was obviously really close like this Anth and Arthur.
Yeah.
I came down so much because like I was going through a breakup, and then like I just every weekend almost I was down there at some point, and it was like just kind of like diverting a little bit, like I've talked about dropping out of uni a lot. For me, it was the right decision, because I've found my career path and I'm really enjoying it. I know other people just like have no idea what they want to do, but like with that, I still kept involved with uni. It's not like I completely like ditched all my friends, because I had friends at uni. Like second year was the year I actually got involved with everyone, and everyone was like, oh my god, like Ellie's here, and it was so much more like comforting to know that I still had friends. Like I went back literally every weekend. I was either at Lani's house or I was back at uni, and I mean I burnt myself out with that, with being so social. But try and like, especially if you have friends, like visit your friends at different unis as well, because you might make friends with their friends. And I did that like with Zoe's friends that I still talk to as well. Like it's definitely that if you get like an invitation to go to your friend's uni for like a party night, or they're doing something, or it's someone's birthday, do it, because then you can see other people's unis, other people's like dynamics.
Yeah, I never did it. Well, I did it a couple times, but I didn't do it as much as I necessarily should have. But at the same time, I'm the only one in our home friendship group that's graduated, so now I have the time and hopefully when I get a job, money to go and visit people. Yeah, but it was expensive to go, because I can't drive. Yeah. So it is very different. Like getting trains are expensive and unreliable.
Yeah, and we've got 2 friends who are down in Plymouth, which from Bath it was like an hour and a half, 2 hours. Like every time I went down to Bath, I was like, I should really go down to Plymouth as well. But then it is a long drive
to Plymouth.
Yeah, and I keep saying like we've got 2 friends who are doing a medical degree down there, and it's like we should really medicine, whatever. But at some point we will go down for a weekend, because like we really should. Because like, they've both been to our places.
Yeah, but also anyway.
Like they know it's far, so.
Yeah, but no. So third year, it's very, very different, because obviously everyone's doing their independent research projects. Or so I lived with. I did biomed, and then someone did sports, someone did computer science, and natural sciences. So everyone was doing different things. I did my dissertation. It was only half a year long. So the first semester I was basically just a mess with stress and trying to write a dissertation and having absolutely like no idea what I was doing. But everyone is in that position, and I ended up talking to a few people who were doing my degree, and I also made friends as well. But actually all my friends that I made in my final year, because Nina had gone on a placement, so I didn't have her anymore, so I had to make friends on my course. And all the friends I made though were doing a master's, so they weren't doing anything I was doing, so they didn't know what I was on about with dissertation. So it is different. But I think I preferred final year with who I was living with. But I don't think that it's necessarily a gender thing. I think it's purely because I was closer with those 3 guys. I mean, one of them was my boyfriend, obviously. But I was closer with them just for hanging out with them more and being around them more than I was necessarily with all of the girls in my second year. Because I was close with Jan and I was close with Nina, but then I kind of had frayed relationships with everyone else. So, I mean, it's just, honestly, to kind of summarise everything.
Yeah.
University is first year and going to uni is a complete change of everything you've known. Maybe not, but for most people it's a complete change. And I think it's just taking everything as it comes and not putting too much pressure on yourself, because I went to uni being like, I'm going to get first, I'm going to study so hard. And in the end, I ended up really enjoying going out and having such a boisterous friendship group.
Yeah, because I think
and just doing my own thing. And I ended up getting a 2-1, a very nice 2-1.
Yeah.
And I got like halfway through second year and realised that that's my aim, because I can do what I want to do in terms of societies and everything and get that degree without putting any extra pressure on myself.
I think that's what people decide, like in third year. It's like, okay, what kind of level am I doing? Like, I think the people that, in my opinion, I mean, I can't really comment a lot on it because I didn't do that like final year, but like, I think you need to have the balance between, like, if you completely, I know a lot of people even in second year completely lock themselves away all year. I didn't see 2 people in my flat because I was such good friends with them in first year, but they just were just so into studying because they wanted to do like, with like economics and maths, they had to do like, or they wanted to do like the spring placements over Easter and stuff like that. But in my opinion, you've got to have like, I'd say complete 50-50 balance. Like, go to get a 2-1, 2-2, get like an average degree. Like, yeah, okay, if you want a first and you have to get a first in your mind,
well, yeah, no,
go for it.
So I would really struggle to do any PhD or anything like that because I don't have a first, or get into like really high end places, which is fine. Like, so currently I'm applying for jobs and I didn't do all the placements, and I mean I tried but I didn't get a placement. So I think definitely try and do a placement, because if you get one, you're like such a like higher level of being able to be employed after uni, because I'm struggling right now to get a job. I will get one. Like, I'm also not really putting my whole heart into it, but I think that do the extra things that will help after uni. Definitely during uni, because COVID did mess it up a bit, but I can't blame everything on COVID.
No,
it's mostly just lack of motivation.
But I think with that, like, if you're going to uni to get a first because you've got this career path ahead of you and like you know exactly what you want to do, like you know exactly where you want to work, that kind of thing. On one side, have in the back of your mind like that could change. Like, that changed with me. I thought that was my path, but if you genuinely have like, this is my goal, this is what I'm going to do, I'm going to work at this company, I need to get a first. Go for it, like smash it out, study hard, do it. But uni has changed a lot recently, or not recently, the last 10 years I'd say, to like, yeah, it's to get a degree, but it's also like that pivotal moment where you make lifelong friends, and people are like, yeah, but uni should be about getting a degree. Yeah, okay, sure, but you've got to have that social side too, otherwise it is lonely.
I think at our age, I think if you're a mature student or doing a master's or PhD or whatever, it changes massively as well. But I think that you should be putting yourself out there in terms of friends, and you should be making an effort with your degree. I think it's just finding your balance, because if you can do both and get a first, congratulations. I genuinely don't know how that's possible, but it also depends on the degree, because I know more degrees are like, some degrees are harder than others, but just find your own pace and find your own things, because first year I was getting all 80%. By the way, also, you don't get 80s and 90s. So at school, I was 80s and 90s all the time. I was sad when I got in the 70s, like, for any exam.
Well, I was in the 50s most of the time.
And then I got to uni, and my first exams, I was getting like 80, 70, and I was like, okay, cool, I'm doing well. And then suddenly you see the 64, and you're like, oh my god. And then you realise, oh no, wait, that's a 2-1. Like, that's good.
Yeah. Because I think about it as a 2-1 is an A, and then a first is like A star hat. Like, that's how I thought of it, because we were A star students. Like, for us to, when we both saw this first grade coming, we were like, oh no. But it's just so different at uni. Like, there is no, you know, at school you have like grade boundaries go up and down depending on how the cohort does. There is not that at uni.
No, it's not. And you are marked completely independently of everyone else. So don't worry about how everyone else is doing, because
don't compare yourself.
Don't compare yourself. There's no point. I mean, I found myself doing that, and I mean, it did help in some regards, me trying a bit more, because I wanted to
the motivation
do as well. But anyway, university can be a really fun experience. It can be awful for some people, as Ellie could say.
Yeah.
But I did also have the advantage of loving my degree and loving what I did, which is also apparently very rare. But I think just take everything as it comes, and just be yourself, because you cannot hold a front on for longer than like a week.
No.
As I found out with so
Yeah.
many people at Freshers. Just be yourself.
Have like, I think the best thing is to just have fun and get out there.
Yeah, but you also got to do that in moderation, because
Of course, yeah.
I mean, otherwise you'll be repeating years for on and on. But yeah, just be yourself, have fun to an extent, and
reach out to people when you need it as well.
Yeah, and if you're not enjoying your degree, you can reach out and change.
Yeah.
I have friends change, as long as you've not done 2 years of your degree and you're changing for your final year. But like, some people can change between, so I could have changed up until like halfway through my second year to do a biology or something degree, because but you can't really change onto biomed because they have the health elements to it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just that's the main points.
But yeah, I hope if you are going to uni, or you're going back for second year or third year, or wherever you're going next, if it is university based, I hope you've kind of got a few points across from this, because we've tried to cover as much as we can. I mean, this episode is probably the longest one I've done, so I hope you've definitely found this useful. And as I said, that it was the perfect time to film an episode like this, or record an episode like this, because, you know, you're off to uni soon, so just have fun. And yeah, and thanks for Lani for being on this episode today.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I will speak to you very soon. I will get back on the podcast grind, don't you worry, and I'll be posting these up. I will start filming some as well, so you get to see me, like the person behind the podcast and the blog, if you don't follow me on socials. But yeah,